They call it the City of Gold, a desert paradise built from dreams, luxury, and limitless ambition. But beneath the shimmering lights of Dubai, another world exists, a world hidden behind locked doors, whispered promises, and untraceable tears. This is not just a story of one man. It's a story about power, silence, and the women whose dreams were sold in the name of glamour. For years, Dubai has been painted as a playground for the rich, where influencers flaunt designer bags, sky-high views, and endless champagne nights. But in 2025, a BBC investigation shattered that illusion. Behind the hashtags, it found a trafficking network, run by a man who moved in silence, hidden among the city's most glamorous districts. His name, Charles Mwesigwa. In today's documentary, we uncover the Dubai sex trafficking empire and a man linked to the mysterious death of Ugandan influencer Kizz. A case that exposes how dreams can turn into nightmares when deception wears the mask of opportunity. Every year, thousands of young women travel from Africa to the Gulf, chasing jobs, safety, or a better life. For many, Dubai seems like the final stop to success. But for some, it's a trap. According to the BBC investigation led by Renako Salina, traffickers lure women with promises of legitimate work in hotels, supermarkets, and luxury spas. The offers look real. The paperwork looks professional. But the truth begins after the flight lands. That was how Monica Karunji, better known online as Kizz, found herself in the United Arab Emirates. She was beautiful, ambitious, and hopeful, a rising social media star from Uganda who believed she was stepping into a new chapter of her life. But soon after arrival, Mona discovered the glittering dream she'd been promised didn't exist. She was placed in an overcrowded flat, surrounded by dozens of women, all under the watch of one man. The same man the BBC would later expose as the head of the degrading trafficking ring. His name kept appearing in whispers, Charles Mwesigwa. The BBC identified him as a former London bus driver, now living in Dubai's Jumeirah Village Circle, a district known for its luxury towers and quiet wealth. To his clients, he was called Abby. To the women, he was something else, the man who owned their debt, their documents, and in many cases their freedom. In undercover footage, Mwesigwa appeared calm, confident, boasting that he could provide women for high-end parties starting at $1,000 a night. He spoke like a businessman, not a criminal. He said, "They're open-minded. They can do pretty much everything." Behind those words was a system built on coercion and fear. According to survivors who spoke to the BBC, women like Mia and Kira, the promises of legal work quickly vanished. Instead, they found themselves locked in apartments, told they owed thousands in debt for airfare, rent, and visas. Debt that doubled every week. Debt that could never truly be repaid. And when they tried to leave, violence followed. Mona shared a flat with dozens of other women. A cramped, dimly lit apartment in a building that would later become infamous, Warson Tower. According to one witness, Kira, it was like a market. There were 50 girls. Mona was not happy because what she expected is not what she got. For months, Mona tried to find a way out. She messaged her family, saying she wanted to return to Uganda, that she couldn't handle the pressure anymore. But each time she mentioned leaving, she was reminded of her so-called debt. By then, it had grown to over $27,000, according to her relatives. "I just want to come home. I didn't know this was what I was signing up for." Her messages grew more desperate, her tone weaker, and then silence. When the BBC contacted Dubai police to ask about the women who'd fallen from high-rise apartments, there was no reply. 2 deaths, both ruled suicides, both linked to the same man. Both young Ugandan women with dreams of a better life. But friends and families never believed the official story. According to the BBC, one of the women, Caleb Irunji, died a year before Mona, also after falling from a tower block managed by Mwesigwa. Her toxicology report showed no drugs or alcohol in her system. Her death was ruled accidental. Her family called it impossible. Monica Karunji was 24 years old. She spent just 4 months in Dubai, 4 months between promise and tragedy. In September 2025, the BBC published its findings, unmasking Charles Mwesigwa as the man at the center of a trafficking network operating in Dubai's luxury districts. Through undercover reporters, they recorded his admissions, cross-checked survivor testimonies, and traced apartments and car rentals tied to his name. One former associate told the BBC, "He pays off security at clubs to let the girls in. They have no escape. They see celebrities, they see presidents, and they can't run." When confronted, Mwesigwa denied all allegations. He claimed he was simply a party promoter who knew many women because of his wealthy contacts. He said, "I am just a party person. These are all false allegations." But his calm tone couldn't erase the trails of evidence. 2 women gone, dozens more missing, and hundreds still trapped in the shadows of a city built to hide them. This wasn't random. According to anti-trafficking advocates, Dubai had quietly become one of the most profitable hubs for organized sex exploitation in the Gulf, a place where silence was easier to buy than justice. Mona's death was not an isolated story. It was a symptom of something much bigger, a pipeline connecting poverty in Africa to profit in the Middle East. Her family still waits for answers. But as one of her relatives told the BBC, "We are all looking at Mona's death. But who is there for the girls still alive?" When the camera stopped rolling on social media, another world began. Behind Dubai's skyline of gold, designer perfumes, and late-night lights, there was a quiet, organized system, a machine built to trade human dreams. And the name at the center of it kept resurfacing: Charles Abbey Mwesigwa. He was never a celebrity, never the man in front of the camera, but to the women who met him, he was the gatekeeper, the one who promised them Dubai and delivered something else entirely. A shadowed figure scrolls through Instagram DMs, luxury apartment photos. Messages flash: "We're recruiting influencers for brand work in Dubai." Cut to a young woman smiling as she packs, believing her new life is about to begin. According to the BBC investigation, Charles ran what appeared to be a social media modeling agency, one that offered promotion jobs and content creator contracts for African women. But the contracts never existed. The modeling work was often front. Women were lured, housed in shared apartments, and their passports quietly taken for security reasons. At first, it all seemed legitimate. Trips to Marina, photo shoots in rented Airbnbs, luxury dinners posted online to keep up appearances. But soon after came the rules. No leaving without permission, no talking about the agency, and absolutely no complaints. This was a hidden empire, a network that thrived on appearance, not truth. To the outside world, these women looked like influencers living their best lives. But behind closed doors, many were victims of coercion and digital silence. The BBC investigation followed multiple leads across Uganda, Kenya, and the UAE, tracing recruitment messages, flight bookings, and payment records that pointed toward Charles's operation. Each woman's journey started with hope and ended in isolation. Flashes of WhatsApp messages, blurred faces, flighty tickets. Camera zooms into a message: "Your ticket is confirmed, babe. Dubai awaits." Cut to woman standing at airport window, phone in hand, eyes full of excitement. Fade to black. One survivor, Naomi, told BBC investigators that she arrived in Dubai believing she'd be a personal assistant. Instead, she was locked in a high-rise apartment in Business Bay with 8 other women, all promised different jobs. When she tried to leave, she was told she owed thousands in travel fees. Her story echoed what many others described: the fake agencies, the confiscated passports, the psychological manipulation dressed as luxury. It wasn't just a single operation. It was a system built on silence. Dubai is a city of contradictions. For every skyscraper, there's a shadow beneath it. And that shadow is where the BBCI team went searching, undercover. They met informants who spoke of parties at luxury penthouses, where women were brought on the guise of brand promotions. Some never returned. Investigators cross-referenced online recruitment profiles. Many traced back to the same IP addresses and phone numbers, linking directly to individuals associated with Charles Mwesigwa's network. It wasn't random. It was a hierarchy: recruiters in Africa, handlers in Dubai, and enforcers managing the women once they arrived. Split screen. a recruiter chatting with a woman on Instagram. Another frame shows Charles signing what looks like a content deal. Camera pans to cash changing hands. According to the BBC report, Charles denied any wrongdoing. He claimed he was helping women find work. But evidence showed messages requesting loyalty and obedience, coded language often used in trafficking networks. The BBC also uncovered bank transactions, small but frequent, from anonymous Dubai-based accounts to recruitment agents in Kampala and Nairobi. This was not a random tragedy. It was a pattern, repeated across dozens of victims. Women promised modeling contracts, ending up trapped in a loop of control and fear. And for Mona Kizz, the pattern ended in death. But she wasn't alone. In the months before her passing, at least 4 other women connected to the same recruitment circles were reported missing or dead under unclear circumstances. Their names barely made headlines. But BBC found threads linking their final online activity, often involving the same Dubai lifestyle pages that Charles and his associates used to recruit. This was the illusion. The dream of Dubai turned weapon, and for the women inside it, silence was survival, because speaking out meant losing everything. But one voice did speak, and it changed the course of the investigation forever. Every story has a moment when the truth breaks through the noise. For women trapped inside the Dubai sex trafficking empire, that moment came when one voice decided not to stay silent. She called herself Aisha, a former recruit, and one of the few who made it out alive. When I arrived in Dubai, I believed I was starting a career. But the first night, they locked the door. They took my passport and told me I had to repay the company. Her testimony was one of several collected by the BBC team, led by journalist Renako Salina. Through secret interviews and digital forensics, they uncovered a pattern of abuse stretching across borders. Using deleted Instagram archives, BBC analysts found hundreds of messages between recruiters and young women across Africa, each promising luxury lifestyles and photo shoots in Dubai. The tone was always friendly. The pattern, identical. Flights booked by third parties. Accommodation prepaid. And then silence. To truly understand how this network operated, you have to hear what the survivors remembered, because the details are where the illusion breaks. Aisha said she was kept in an apartment in Business Bay, the same area where Mona Kizz was last seen. Every morning she was told to dress up and post photos online to promote the agency. It was marketing through deception, a way to recruit more girls by displaying a life of freedom that didn't exist. Those images became advertisements for a trap, each like and comment drawing someone new into the circle. And then, in May 2022, the story of one of those women shook the internet. Mona Kizz, her real name, Monica Runji. To her followers, she was the definition of success, bold, glamorous, and fearless. But according to the BBC report and court documents reviewed later, she was in contact with Charles Mwesigwa just weeks before her death. The BBC team uncovered screenshots of their conversations, messages about new brand gigs, flight bookings, and hotel stays arranged through his contacts. Then came the last message she ever sent to a friend. They lied to me. What happened next remains the most controversial part of the case. Dubai police classified Mona's death as a suicide, but her friends and fellow recruits told BBC investigators a different story, one of fear, debt, and desperation. They said if we run, they will find us. We were told Mona was weak, that she could not handle the pressure. I still see her smile in my mind. Each voice added a piece to the puzzle. A pattern of exploitation camouflages influence. According to the BBC team, financial records linked to Charles Mwesigwa showed multiple transactions to flights and apartments used by the women. While no criminal conviction has been publicly reported yet, the evidence painted a complex picture, one that forced authorities in Uganda and Dubai to re-examine how recruitment agencies operate. For Aisha and others who escaped, their fight didn't end when they left the apartment. They faced shame, fear, and silence, often from their own communities, because to speak about what really happened in Dubai was to risk everything. When I first covered the story of Mona Kizz, I thought it was just one woman's tragedy. But what the BBC investigation revealed was something far bigger, a system that feeds on ambition, fear, and silence. They are the names we don't see on headlines, the faces hidden behind Instagram filters and deleted accounts. The BBC's team found over a dozen cases of young women reported missing after traveling for similar job offers. Some were later found, broken, afraid, and determined never to speak again. But one did, and that testimony changed everything. In late 2023, the BBCI team received an anonymous voice note from someone claiming to have worked inside Charles Mwesigwa's network, a former assistant. Her message was short, only 90 seconds, but it confirmed what many feared. They used the girls' profiles to advertise. They lied to them. If anyone refused, they were sent back with nothing. Mona found out too much. She wanted to leave. That recording became the turning point in the BBC investigation. It didn't just connect Mona Kizz to Charles Mwesigwa. It connected hundreds of other victims to the same shadow network. And what followed next was the beginning of a global hunt for answers. Every empire built on silence eventually faces the sound of truth. For months, the man behind the Dubai sex trafficking network had operated in the shadows, untouchable, protected by power, connections, and fear. But that changed when the BBCI investigations team decided to expose him. It started with a name, Charles Mwesigwa, known to his victims as Abby, and to Dubai's night scene as a man who could arrange anything. The BBC tracked him through a web of phone numbers, fake profiles, and property records. Each lead brought them closer to one address, Jumeirah Village Circle, one of Dubai's wealthiest residential districts. He wasn't hiding in some dark alley. He was living among luxury, marble floors, rooftop pools, and private elevators. A man accused of preying on the desperate, thriving in plain sight. To verify his identity, BBC sent an undercover reporter posing as an event organizer looking for models for a private party. Within minutes, Charles responded, his tone confident, his words chilling. "We've got like 25 girls. Many are open-minded. They can do pretty much everything." He even bragged about using a UK driving license, proof that he once lived in London, where he claimed to have worked as a bus driver. "I could win the lottery, £1 million, but I'd still do this," he told the reporter. "It's become part of me." For the first time, the face behind the trafficking rumors had a name, a voice, and undeniable proof. The BBC had unmasked a man allegedly running one of Dubai's most secretive sex rings, one linked to multiple deaths, including that of Mona Kizz Karungi. By this time, Mona had already left Charles's apartment. She told friends she finally found a legitimate job, a chance to start over. But just 4 days later, she fell from the balcony of her new apartment. Dubai police called it suicide, but the BBC report says her relatives saw things differently. No drugs in her system, no clear autopsy, no full toxicology report, and to this day, no accountability. Her family says her body was never returned home. BBC reporters believe she lies buried here, in a section called the Unknown, a place for migrants whose families can't reclaim their bodies. In 2021, another Ugandan woman, Kayla Byarungi, fell from a nearby high-rise. She too had connections to the same network. Dubai authorities ruled her death accidental, but BBC obtained her toxicology report. It showed no trace of drugs or alcohol. The patterns were too similar to ignore. 2 women, 2 deaths. One name at the center, Charles Abby Mwesigwa. According to BBC's interviews, he told one of the victim's relatives, "She's not the first to die, and she won't be the last." He denied saying those words. But multiple witnesses told the same story. Back in Uganda, Monic's family still waits for answers. They told BBC they live in fear, afraid that speaking too loudly could bring trouble. "We are all looking at Monic's death," one cousin said. But who is there for the girls still alive? The BBC report also traced how Uganda's massive labor export industry, with over $1.2 billion a year, has become a gateway for exploitation. Thousands of young women travel to the Gulf for jobs that don't exist. Many vanish into silence. We get cases every week. A girl thinks she's going to work in a supermarket. Then she's sold into prostitution. We've rescued more than 700 so far. Her words echo the same warning Mona once gave her friends online. Not every bright city has light. After the BBC expose aired, the story spread worldwide, trending under hashtags like hashtag Dubai Trafficking, hashtag BBC Investigation, and hashtag Justice for Mona Kizz. Public outrage forced new scrutiny on recruitment agencies in both Uganda and the UAE. But the investigation faced resistance. Dubai police did not respond to repeated BBC requests for comment, and that silence speaks louder than words. Because even now, years later, the women who survived say justice still feels far away. They think we forgot. We're still waiting for someone to care. We only wanted a better life. But change starts with awareness, with documentaries like this, with journalists who refuse to let the story die, and with viewers, people like you, who dare to share, question, and demand accountability. The story of Mona Kizz was never just about one influencer or one city. It's a warning about what happens when dreams meet deception. For the women still trapped, every view, every share, every act of awareness is a light in the dark. Because if no one speaks, the empire rises again. Backhand index pointing right. If you or someone you know is at risk of trafficking, reach out to verified NGOs or visit bbc.co.uk/action line. The BBC investigation didn't just expose a trafficking ring. It revealed a system, a world where beauty is currency, silence is power, and women like Mona Kizz become invisible long before they disappear. For some survivors, justice never came. For others, survival itself was a miracle, a rebellion against a machinery that wanted them broken, quiet, erased. This story is not just about Dubai. It's about every city where promises are made in private messages, every dream built on fake job offers and social media illusions. According to BBC I and other human rights groups, trafficking operations now use the same platforms that we scroll through every day. WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram. They reach out with opportunity and end with exploitation. If you've watched till this point, you already care. You've seen how easy it is to fall into the illusion of luxury and how deadly it can become. Unveiling true crime. Let's keep these stories alive, not for views, but for voices that can no longer speak. Every share, every comment, every subscriber helps push awareness to someone who might be one message away from danger. If you found this documentary powerful, hit subscribe and turn on the bell icon. Our next investigation dives even deeper. The Porta Potty Dubai scandal, the hidden industry of exploitation. That story will shock you. Next on Unveiling True Crime, the Porta Potty Dubai story.